Hey everybody, Dirili here. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Hakuoki Kyoto Wins. We are on Hijikata Toshizo's route, and I think this could be our last or second to last video. Not sure which. I know we're closing in on the end here, so we're in the middle of this battle with Kazama. Yamazaki came to look for Hijikata and gave me a little break, letting me end a really long video for the last episode. So let's continue. You can just sit back, relax, and let me read you a story. His timing couldn't have been better. In that moment, Yamazaki looked like an angel. We're in trouble. Hijikata's fighting a demon. And no, he is... Yamazaki stared at me for only a moment before he glanced past my shoulder and saw the battle raging there. His eyes widened in shock and horror.
What's going on here? That white-haired demon, is that a fury? No, those clothes there. Oh my god.
That's Hijikata. He drank the water of life.
No.
With a dull twang, the sword leapt out of Hijikata's hands and clattered to the ground.
The battle is mine. Though I am impressed that you lasted so long with such a dull sword.
Hijikata kept low to the ground and slowly began to move away. Kazama followed just as slowly, his grin widening at Hijikata's apparent fear. I thought he would have stuck to his anger.
I hope you haven't forgotten that I don't intend to simply kill you. Eventually you'll die, of course, but not before I've inflicted on you all the pain I can imagine.
The advantage, once again his, Kazama's calm had returned.
When I'm finished, I'll skin you alive and send your head back to your beloved Shinsengumi. They deserve to see you at your, best. To start, though, I think I'll take off your arms. Then feed them to stray dogs.
Kazama hefted his sword, its blade still clean and undamaged. Hijikata! I screamed as loud as I could, some irrational part of me hoping that might change the outcome. A horrible wet sound filled my ears.
What?
I looked up. Blood had splattered across the front of Kazama's shirt, but Hijikata was unharmed.
What are you doing, Commander? You're the head of the Shinsengumi. We're your arms and legs. Why are you running off to face the enemy alone? Yamazaki, what are you saying?
His voice shook. Yamazaki smiled back, his eyes shining, as I'd seen them do when he and Hijikata were discussing important secrets.
If you lose an arm or a leg, you can always replace it. But if you lose the head, you lose everything. The chief and the commander, the two of you make a whole.
With that, he went limp, the last of his energy exhausted, and crumpled to the ground. Blood pooled beneath him, turning the packed dirt a deep red. Yamazaki! I grabbed a hold of him as if that might somehow bring him back to consciousness.
Yamazaki, why?
His hair had slowly begun to shift back to its original color, and as I watched, he struggled to blink back tears.
Hey, Hijikata! Yamazaki again! Where are you guys?
Nagakuro's voice echoed through the forest from some distance away.
Damn it, more are coming. I should just finish you off now.
Kazama lifted his sword and made to swing it when, out of nowhere, a hulking form appeared between us.
Stop. Any further battles will only lead to unnecessary casualties. Are you ordering me to retreat? Am I supposed to let this worm who dared to cut my face simply go free? Killing him would be easy enough for you, but to do so would go against the wishes of the Satsuma domain. Ultimately, they desire for the shogunate to fall by their hand, not by the hand of a demon.
His tone made it clear how little he thought of that desire, but his commitment to obedience was clearly greater. Kazama wasn't pleased with Amagiri's interruption, but he seemed to feel that it was pointless to argue over the matter with his fellow demon.
Hijikata, was it? I will not forget that name. I will have my revenge. Same to you. I won't be able to sleep at night until I've sent your soul to the afterlife.
They glared at one another with such hate, I felt as if they might spontaneously combust. Then Kazama spun on his heel and followed Amagiri off into the forest. No sooner had they disappeared.
Hey there, you! Hijikata, what the hell's going on? There's dead men all over the place. Did you run into some rebels? No, these are sword cuts. Go look at Yamazaki. I think he's still alive. What?
Nagakura stared in horror and sudden realization at Yamazaki's limp body.
What happened here? Come on, Yamazaki, hang in there! This is bad. Chizuru, what's going to happen to Yamazaki? Don't tell me.
Yamazaki will... Judging by the severity of his wounds, I could hazard a guess as to what would happen, but I couldn't bring myself to say it aloud because I felt it would seal his fate.
Answer us! What's going to happen to Yamazaki? Don't tell me he's...
Does anyone have any clean cloths?
Here. If you need cloth, take this. He needs it more than I do.
Thank you, I'll borrow it. Also, I need some sake to clean the wounds, preferably shochu.
Yeah, shochu. I don't know where to look. There's a nearby stream that's flowing with clean water. Allow me to retrieve some. No, I'll go. I can handle it myself. I'm leaving Yamazaki in your hands, Chizuru.
Nagakura rushed and ran up the mountain.
Commander, what happened here?
Hijikata didn't even seem to hear him.
I never thought I would sacrifice my own men so I could survive. Sacrifice? Inoe's body's over there. Can you give me a hand burying him?
You didn't sacrifice them. You weren't even here when Inoue died. And Yamazaki acted of his own will.
His men, too. It gets cold this time of year. Can't leave him out there to freeze.
I knew that he wanted to break down and cry more than any of us, but in front of his men he struggled to grin and joke. It was just too much. I felt myself begin to sob, but I couldn't bear to do it in front of Inoue and Yamazaki, so I buried my face in my hands and the tears flowed soundlessly. Inoue had given his life to save mine. Hijikata had become a fury to fight the demon who had chased me across Kyoto. Yamazaki had taken a blow that might well end his life to protect Hijikata. What could I possibly do for them? How could I atone for my sins? I thought about it for a long time, but no answers came. That night, Sanin and the Fury Corps launched an attack in revenge for the events of the afternoon. Once the sun had set, it became harder to aim a gun, which the Shinsengumi hoped would give the Fury Corps the advantage. At first it did, and the Furies were even more successful than they'd hoped. But then the gunners began to fire different, special bullets, and the Fury Corps were quickly driven back. The loss was devastating. And our allies quickly crumbled. With the betrayal of the Yodo and the Su domains, and the refusal of the Owari domain to become involved in any way, the Shinsengumi was alone. With our allies gone and enemies everywhere, we had no choice but to retreat to Osaka Castle. And here we are at Osaka again. And is this going to be the final chapter? Oh, not yet.
Well, here we are. Damn, this place is big. What's the sense in building a place like this? Man, I was wondering how long it'd take us to get here. Hijikata, we're going to take Yamazaki to see Dr. Matsumoto, okay? Sure, fine. Go ahead.
I performed emergency first aid on him, but Yamazaki had groaned in pain all the way home. Considering how badly he was covered in deep gashes, I couldn't see him making it for much longer. I was also worried for Hijikata. Now that he was a fury, being out in the sunlight had to be painful for him. Hijikata? Are you feeling alright? I mean, physically.
What? Surprised to see a fury out during the day?
No, I mean, that's not what I was just wondering if anything has changed.
No. So far, nothing. Still, pretty soon here it'll probably be real painful for me to even look at the sun. Might as well enjoy it while I can.
Oh no. Hijikata was joking, but what he'd said made me hang my head low.
I don't know what's going on in that head of yours, but only one person made the decision to drink that stuff. Me. Besides, I've ordered plenty of men to cut themselves open or become furies. Can't really wuss out when it's my turn, can I? I had a feeling this would happen eventually. Don't blame yourself.
It wasn't that easy, though. I couldn't just take him at his word and shed all the guilt I felt. When I looked up at him, though, his expression seemed somehow relieved. This is kind of a weird question, but did something good just happen?
Of course.
He looked up at the castle walls and laughed.
Isn't it obvious? We have a bright future ahead of us.
We do?
This castle will never fall.
Oh dear.
So long as we stay here, we can't lose. Maybe we'll do what Yukimura Sanada couldn't, and maybe we'll get some revenge. How could I not be excited?
The man I'd watched fight the demon Kazama was nowhere to be seen. Hijikata's face now was that of a man looking forward, determined to win. I smiled to myself. He hadn't given up hope.
Commander, there you are. What's wrong? We've been ordered to put to sea immediately. We're returning to Edo. Edo, what do you mean? I thought we were going to stay here and give that rebel scum a little payback. Well,
He hesitated, and I sensed that it was out of reluctance, not confusion. When he spoke, he sounded as if he didn't even quite believe what he was saying.
I received word that Yoshinobu Tokugawa has already boarded a ship and is headed for Edo. So there is little point in remaining here.
For a moment, Hijikata simply stood there, stunned. When he spoke, his voice was a sinister growl.
What the hell do you mean he's on a boat to Edo? His army put their necks on the line for him, and he's running away to save his own sorry ass. Well, to be honest, I'm really not too sure myself.
Shimada didn't look much more pleased about the situation than Hijikata.
Damn it.
Unable to contain his frustration, he kicked out at the nearest tree. His eyes thinned and he kicked it several more times. At last he stopped, slightly out of breath, and tried to regain his earlier calm.
Fine. Not like we were fighting for Tokugawa himself in the first place. They don't have the balls for it, fine. We don't need them. We still got the Denshu Company and a couple of those warships the shogunate bought from the foreigners. When we get to Edo, we'll just have to start this fight up again.
Perhaps it was the desperate exhilaration of having your back to the wall, but I saw the fire of determination light in Hijikata's eyes. Yep, final chapter time of Toshizo Hijikata for our continuation ending. Setting out to sea, I assume. This war later became known as the Battle of Tobu Fushimi. Throughout the war, the shogunate troops had the advantage in numbers, but they were no match against the Satsuma Choshu, who successfully employed advanced weapons and Western tactics to gain the upper hand. Allegedly, the deciding moment was in the arrival of the gold brocade flag, which represented their allegiance and backing of the imperial palace. When Lord Yoshinobu had discovered this had happened, he decided to retreat to Edo. At this point, the war had become pointless to those serving the shogunate once their leader had left. The prospect of defeat is what moved the last remnants of the shogunate and the Shinsengumi to leave Osaka Castle for Edo. During the trip aboard the ship, Dr. Matsumoto and I took turns caring for Yamazaki.
Yukimura, are you there?
Yes, what's the matter? Are you in pain?
No. I wanted to tell the commander something. Can you call him here for me?
Oh no. For him to call out for Hijikata must mean... No, I couldn't think of that yet. Okay, I'll go get him right away. Hold on. I hurried out of the cabin and I went to call Hijikata. We rushed back to the cabin with Yamazaki immediately.
Yamazaki,
I bought Hijikata. Can you see him?
Yeah. Thanks, Yukimura.
Yamazaki's face was almost white as snow. Almost all the blood had drained from his face. It was clear that the end for him was near. Cold sweat dripped profusely from his forehead, and Yamazaki started to speak meekly.
Commander, I'm so sorry that I couldn't help you until the end. What the hell are you saying? If you had the energy to apologize, just focus on getting better.
Despite what he'd said, Hijikata's harsh tone sounded to me like he knew the end was near too. But I guess that was more of a reason for him to speak like he normally would to Yamazaki.
Come to think of it, these past 4 years, all the days I spent working as your right hand were some of the best days of my whole life. I was born the son of an acupuncturist, and you took me in, which has allowed me to die a warrior, all because of the Shinsengumi. If I had one last wish, it would be that I could serve you until the very end.
Yamazaki spoke with staggered, pained breaths, and he mustered all his strength to speak his final words.
It's okay. If you force yourself, it'll just hurt more.
Then Yamazaki's eyes darted toward me suddenly.
Yukimura, please take care of the commander from now on. I want you to be by his side, witnessing the Shinsengumi's victory.
Watching this unfold was too much for my heart to bear. I couldn't respond immediately.
Yukimura, say something.
Hijikata urged me to answer, and I held back my tears as I responded. Oh, right. Yamazaki, please, just rest. When I answered him, Yamazaki's expression softened. After a while, he closed his eyes slowly. Yamazaki? I spoke his name aloud, but no movement came from his eyes, nor the rest of him ever again.
What a peaceful way to go. It's as if he were sleeping.
Hijikata's words confirmed what I'd hoped was just a dream. Yamazaki had passed in front of me. I crumbled to the floor. Oh, I really hate when we actually have Yamazaki's death scenes. They always make me so sad. It was suggested by Enomoto of the Bakushin to do a burial at sea for Yamazaki.
You alright, Kondo? Can you stand on your own? Aye, thanks, Toshi.
Hijikata supported Kondo as he walked up to the deck, doing his best to contain his grief.
Everyone, Yamazaki was an integral part for a long time as a member of the Watch. For him to leave us under such circumstances, it fills me with an unimaginable sadness. Yamazaki possessed so much selflessness. He served his duties with determination and enthusiasm, giving us everything he had no matter what was asked of him. I'd like to take a moment to celebrate his life. If we may, I would like to hold a memorial service in the form of a burial at sea.
Eventually, Yamazaki's body was carried forth by the pallbearers aboard the ship.
Farewell, Yamazaki. I pray that you watch over us proudly, from wherever as we fight.
After Kondo finished his eulogy, Yamazaki's body was thrown into the sea.
Damn you, Yamazaki! How dare you die on me! And no point in complaining now. I'm sure Yamazaki wanted this less than anyone else. Shut up, I know that!
Although none of the men seemed to be displaying their grief publicly, everyone's eyes were red. I could only assume that they had shed their tears when they were without the company of others. Hijikata stood there looking down at the sea, as if he wanted to say something. Yamazaki's body drifted, popping up in between the tumbling waves for a few moments, but soon his body had washed away out of sight. I couldn't bring myself to sleep soundly because my mind focused solely on Yamazaki. I wandered to the deck. Oh! I stopped upon seeing an unexpected person.
Oh, it's you.
You sound disappointed.
What's the matter? You're up early.
I couldn't really sleep. How about you, Hijikata?
Same.
Right. With all that happened, I'm sure Hijikata needed some time to process all of it alone. He watched the stars covering the dark sky, like a ghost of the day before haunting from above. The sun began to faintly show its head in the east. Dawn was soon arriving.
Look, I'm sure you're handling a lot right now too, but Maybe it'd be best if you don't stay out here for too long. They say it's not good for a woman to be out in the cold for too long, right?
Yes, I understand. I'll go back inside soon.
Great.
Our conversation ended there. Together for a moment, we listened to the endless movement of the ocean crashing against the ship. I couldn't shake the thought of how many men we'd lost in this battle. But at least we get to see this.
Until now. I always felt like I was fighting an uphill battle by trying to assert myself as a true samurai. Never once did I ever think the path I chose was the wrong one. Gen, Yamazaki. I'm sure all the men who gave their lives for this battle felt the same way. But I suppose it's more of a reason for us who survived to give our lives in their honor and to fulfill what they would have expected from us.
Hijikata was looking at the far eastern sky. His expression was so vigorous, almost scary. It felt as though I was witnessing the return of Hijikata's strength and unwavering determination. Almost as if he were opening my eyes. I didn't know how I could ever repay the debt of Yamazaki and Inoue's sacrifices. As Hijikata and I watched the sky, I felt compelled to tell him something that came to me. Hijikata, I need to tell you something.
What is it?
To speak these words, I knew I needed courage to do it. I knew they could hurt him. Inoue wanted me to tell you something before he died. He said that he wanted to apologize for his incompetence, and he hoped you would forgive him for not staying with you until the end. He said he didn't have the words to thank you for giving a man like him the chance to be a part of something, and that he'd never forget what you did for him. As I was telling him this, I started to choke and began to sob, but I was finally able to tell him Inoue's final words. Hijikata's eyelids shook faintly, and I saw him gulping. And then...
God damn it, Gen. Well, the vagary. Incompetence. Thank you for giving a man like him a chance. We were the ones who should be thanking him.
Hijikata was inhibiting himself from expressing the true weight of his emotions, and his eyes thinned. The sun had finally climbed from the horizon. Oh, that's cool. We actually get to see the sunrise. I'm probably going to speed this up a little. It's probably going to take a little too long for the video. But it's a cool effect.
Maybe it's because I'm a fury now. But that damn sun is really stinging my eyes.
Ah, his excuse for tears. Hijikata stared resolutely toward the rising sun.
Gen, Yamazaki, watch over us. We won't let it end like this. As soon as we get to Edo, we're going to regroup, and we'll avenge you two. Also, all those bitches in the Bakushin, and in the Satsuma Choshu. I'm going to engrave the name of the Shinsengumi over each and every one of their hearts. I promise you, they'll never forget it.
His face was so gallant in the shine of the dawn, almost godlike, and I couldn't look away. If Hijikata, who shared an even deeper kinship with Inoue and Yamazaki than someone like me, could be strong, then so could I. It gave me a purpose to pull myself up from the grief of battle. This made me realize that I must do my best too, for everyone, for as long as I am by Hijikata's side. A very sad way to end Hijikata's route in this game. So yeah, I think this will be another long video, but I'm going to go ahead and include the other endings in this. And hope they aren't too long. I don't know, I might have to split this video if they are too long. But man, I totally forgot just how emotional things got in Hijikata's route, and it only gets worse. I mean, as far as things getting emotional, I don't know. For me, really, Yamazaki and Inoue are some of the most tragic things that happen in this game. In everybody's route, so... Oh no, never mind. I'm remembering things now. Yeah, Hijikata has very, very sad things up and coming. As do many of the other routes. Why does there have to be so many sad things in this game? They make us love these characters and then they torture them in front of us. Oh, and then they make all these really hot guys and won't let us date them. These game creators are just masters of torture. Ah yes, and here we have the epilogue. January 1868. The Battle of Toba-Fushimi ended with the Satsuma and Choshu victorious. As the shogunate troops retreated, the Shinsengumi headed toward Edo. 4 years ago, I came to Kyoto all by myself in search of my father and met the Shinsengumi. I'm going to leave the city of Kyoto, where I made fond memories with the Shinsengumi. Despite the defeat, his resolve didn't waver, and I've chosen to walk alongside him. We're going to head to Edo, without knowing what fate awaits us. Again. And then, of course, as usual, in order to get the tragic love ending, we will go down to the record of service, all the way down to Hijikata's chapter 5, with low romance, and then skip until we come to the first choice. First choice, I have to leave this time. I have to leave. There was no real choice for me. If I remained, I would bring trouble to the people I cared for. War was coming, and they wouldn't be able to afford any distractions. My mind was, at last, and somewhat reluctantly, made up. I think I'll go with you, Sen. If that's okay with you guys. Is that truly what you want? Once you come with us, the life that you know as a human will cease to exist. I want to be sure. You're okay with this? What, I can never come back ever? I could feel my determination beginning to waver. I looked away. To no longer have access to my human life would mean I have to completely shut out the people of the Shinsengumi from my life. All of this despite the fact that my father was the one who introduced the serum into their lives. Could I really walk away and pretend that none of this had anything to do with me? Could I live another life in isolation under someone else's protection and be fine with it? Your expression tells me that you are not yet fully prepared for this. You cannot carelessly suggest that you join us when you aren't sure yet. I'm sorry. Hijikata, it seems as though she still wishes to stay with all of you. What do you think? If Kazama comes after her, would you be able to protect her?
Who the hell do you think you're talking to? We're the ones driving them away every time they show up. Even if they were going easy on us, we're no pushovers here.
I see. I understand then. And skippage? Oh, and we have a little bit extra here. Well, I'm here and he's here. And I want to help him out, you know? How I feel about Hijikata. Really great explanation of my feelings there. And here I'm going to save, because we can just go ahead and come back to this to get the bad ending after we get the first ending. So we'll get revenge. And here we go, tragic love, as if his regular ending wasn't tragic enough. Kazama growled under his breath and ran, but not for Hijikata. Ah! He lifted me nearly off the ground by my hair and pressed his sword to my throat.
Looks like the table have turned, fake. You son of a bitch. I thought demons were proud. How low would you stoop to get what you want? Were you listening? I said I would torture you, but I never said how. Simply taking your life is far from enough. You must feel pain. I've heard that some humans feel great pain when those close to them are harmed. I wonder, are you one of them?
I saw Hijikata's eyes widen as he realized what Kazama meant, then turned to slits. He glared at the demon with eyes so sharp that they could cut steel, and lowered his sword. Hijikata, no! He tossed his sword to the ground.
Happy? Now let her go.
Why, Hijikata? He'd become a fury to defeat Kazama and avenge Inoue, so why? Why had he given that up to save me?
What? I'm the commander of the Shinsengumi. That means I'm ready to die for anybody under my command. You know that.
But... I'm not a warrior of the Shinsengumi. Why would you...
You've been one of us for almost 4 years now. You're as much of a warrior as anyone.
He smiled at me, and I could see in his face that he knew he would die. For a moment I saw Inoue, just as he'd asked me to deliver his final message. I had to say something. I had to stop him. But my mind was blank.
Your determination is impressive. Now that you're a fury, I trust you won't die so easily. This will be a perfect way to kill some time.
He would torture Hijikata in every way he could think of, and then kill him. That, he seemed to think, would keep me from ever defying him again. I had to stop him. I couldn't let Hijikata die.
Go on, get out of here. What the hell do you think I threw my sword down for?
But...
I said go!
He roared like a beast from hell, and my body jolted up instantly. I ran as quickly as I could without turning back. Hijikata, I can trust you, right? The Shinsengumi still needs you. So please, don't die. Please survive and make it back to your men. I scrambled back, and I finally arrived back at Osaka Castle. Then it came to light that the supreme commander of the shogunate, Lord Yoshinobu, had abandoned the troops and returned to Edo. And Yamazaki, who was bravely protecting the Fushimi magistrate, had passed away. I had been able to reunite with the other Shinsengumi captains, but...
Where's Hijikata? The ship's about to set sail.
No matter how long we waited, Hijikata didn't show up.
So according to what you said, Chizuru, he was fighting Kazama, yeah? Then does that mean... Sano, don't say that! There's no way he'll die!
It was all my fault. If I hadn't met Kazama on that mountain path, or, as Sen suggested, I had left the Shinsengumi to join her, the weight of these regrets were crashing on me, and I could barely stand.
Let's get on the ship now. No point in waiting any longer.
Then, just as Harada had said that, the sliding door flew open abruptly, and someone walked in. The person was...
Sorry for being late. Commander, you're alive, but your clothes...
I couldn't blame Saito for being surprised. Hijikata's kimono was drenched in blood. Judging by the state of his clothes alone, you could see the hell he just dragged himself out of, and I can imagine how their battle unfolded.
So, the shogunate troops gonna head back to Edo on the ship. I'll prepare now. You guys get on that ship. Alright, got it.
Harada, Saito, Nagakura all left the common room. I was the only one that remained. Hijikata wiped the bloodstain smeared across his cheek with his sleeve. He watched me, pausing for a minute to breathe.
As I'd said earlier, we're heading back to Edo, but...
I had a feeling I knew what he was about to tell me.
You don't have to stay with us anymore. The Furies, the Water of Life, and even Kyoto, the Shinsengumi will figure something out for ourselves. So, you should find Sen and Kimigiku and get into a safe hiding place.
Well, for once, that's actually a reasonable course of action, instead of just leaving me into Edo to my own helplessness to be snatched up by Kazama at some point. Oh yeah, that's right, because I actually have a way to find them too. Go to the Sumi, right? So that makes sense. Why didn't they do that for the other routes?
If you wear women's clothes, I'm sure you can slip past the Satsuma and Shoshu troops, no problem.
I knew all this was something that would come eventually. At first, I thought they were terrifying men. But the more I got to know the Shinsengumi men, the more I became comfortable with them. Before I knew it, I was confronted with the thought of losing them, and it made me numb all over. However, I couldn't be responsible for letting one of the men share the same fate as Inoue. I couldn't let anyone else die on my behalf. Thank you for the last 4 years. I honestly can't thank you enough. I will pray for everyone to return safely. I placed my hands upon the ground, and I bowed, laying prostrate before Hijikata.
Good lord, how foolish are you really? You're expressing thanks to someone who's led a group that's kept you captive for years. At this rate, you're worrying me that you'll be swept up by some creep as soon as I'm gone.
I probably will. Oh.
Later. Take care of yourself, Chizuru.
His eyes brimmed with as much kindness as I'd ever seen from him. Hijikata bid his farewell. Then I headed toward the hill overlooking the view of Osaka Bay. I watched as the black ship let out plumes of dark smoke, and it left toward Edo. Although Supreme Commander Yoshinobu fled the battle, I knew in my heart that Hijikata held the resolve to continue his own fight. Although I may not be able to be by his side. Please, be safe. How we met seems so peculiar now, but I can never forget all the days I spent with everyone. That actually wasn't so bad for one of the tragic love endings. That was a much better one than the other one. I didn't feel so depressed after that one like I did with the other ones. It's actually strangely satisfying compared to all the rest of them. Alright, so let's go on to his bad ending real quick. Here we go. Continue from that last save. And instead of get revenge, run for it. I know his final words echoed through my head. He had told me to run, to survive, and to deliver his message to Hijikata. Then that was what I had to do. I bowed to his body and ran.
Fool, do you really think you can escape from me?
I had scarcely taken 2 steps when I felt his hand take me by the hair and jerk my head backward. Ow! His other hand snaked out to clamp itself across my throat and squeeze. I struggled and kicked, but to no avail. Kazama's grip was like a vice. Let go! I had to get free. I had to tell Hijikata Inoe's last words.
I let you out of my sight for just a few hours, and this is the kind of crap you get yourself into. Guess demons don't know when to give up. Can't figure out why you're so stuck on a girl who's already turned you down, though.
That voice! And some skipping. But instead of Yamazaki showing up, Kazama stepped into Hijikata's zone with rapid speed and movement. He swung and swung in a brilliant offensive display that was difficult to keep up with.
What the hell? His moves!
Hijikata attempted to keep up with the speed of Kazama's blade, but after a few more clashes of their blade, Hijikata's blade was smacked straight out of his hand.
Hijikata, was it? I think that just about does it.
Kazama smiled cruelly, taking his leisurely time as he walked toward Hijikata. If only Hijikata could jump to grab his sword. No, if he were to take his eye off him even for a moment, Kazama would lop his head clean off. Hijikata seemed fixed to his position, unable to make a move. At this rate, no! I unsheathed my kodachi, and I charged at Kazama.
Hey, what the hell are you doing? Get back!
I could hear Hijikata screaming behind me, but... Yeah! I tried to thrust my kodachi toward Kazama. The sound of flesh being torn apart cut through my ears beside me. What was that sound?
You were acting so bold, so I couldn't help but feel my hands slip. Fear not, though. A demon wouldn't die from something so gentle. So, just sit tight while you watch me kill this man.
Kazama's eyes thinned maliciously out of joy. And then... what I saw then was the most cruel, horrific thing I had ever borne witness to. Oh, that really, really sucks. I guess Yamazaki didn't show up in this one at all. Damn. Oh, well, thank goodness that didn't have a part in the tragic love ending. And I guess we were left up to Kazama's devices after that point. Well, all that we have left now is Heisuke. So we'll be starting him in the next video tomorrow. Hope to see you there or in some of my other videos. And I'd be so grateful for any likes, comments, subscriptions, or shares with your friends to show some support. Thank you so much for joining me, and I wish you all health, happiness, and safety. Dirili signing out. Bye bye everybody.